Hey y'all, I thought I would go ahead and give you guys an update of our border dispute. So, I found out that the Idaho code for adverse property is actually a lot harder to get than border by acquiescence. So, I was going to show you guys the fence line that is here along the ditch, because I found out that with adverse property or squatter's rights, you have to have 20 years of possession. You have to have adverse knowledge that the property that you are trying to take is not yours. And you have to be able to say there's like 5-6 different things that you have to do. However, for boundary acquiescence, which is what this fence line is right here, this is the boundary from when my parents purchased the property back in March of 2002. And as you see, the fence line's still up. And then here's my forge. But we're walking around the pond real quick. But basically, if you have a boundary up when you purchase the land and you've kept it in agreement and that land has been that way between you and your other neighbors and such, you can have what sometimes is called a boundary by acquiescence. Essentially, it is what you believe is your land. There's the fence line we just walked. There's the other fence line. So as we come around, you can see we've got more posts here. But what you believe is your land, there's more. And so you have a fence that's not necessarily there to hold cattle, not necessarily there to do anything but say this is the boundary. So because it is open in the front, because it is set up this way, and because my parents were under full faith thinking that this was their property, we built a barn, we built a huge, beautiful tree house, all thinking that this was my parents' property. So now we're on the other side of the barn. That's just what I walked around. So we've got this fence line here. And my parents, they don't build fences like this. Heck, you can see it as, am I showing you right? Yeah, I am. The tree has just completely grown around it. And so this basically, because surveys can be wrong and people assume different properties, you can see here's wire, here's more fence post. From my understanding, we're gonna walk around this group of trees here because you can see the fence goes right through it. So my understanding is, because this was the assumed boundary for so long, it can actually become the boundary through acquiescence because of that. Now, I could be saying it wrong. I'm not a lawyer. I just barely heard that. So, all right, so here we go. This, and then there's where we were. It's just down there. And the fence just kind of continues on. And you can see the fence line here. Continues on. And then goes out and across. So it goes out and across over here. So this is the one that has, this side over here has the boundary that is trying to dispute, or basically say that we need to vacate the property because he had it surveyed and it shows it quite a bit on our property. So I'm going to show you guys this fence line too. So basically, we said, well, wait a minute, no. We purchased this property as if it were our property, and we were told that this is the boundary, and no party came forward and said that's not the property. So we have a boundary by acquiescence. And again, like I said, I'm not a lawyer. I could be saying it wrong. So if you guys have different thoughts or different views, go ahead and leave them in the comments below. So you see this fence follows the other side of the ditch line across here. But anyway, so we potentially, because of how this was fenced off, set up, actually have ball here from our dog. Actually, maybe have the land that we assumed, my parents assumed they had almost 20 years ago when they purchased the land. So you can see, I mean, there's the fence line. You can kind of see the wire there. Here's more stakes and this fence line. Now there's a lot of wind, of course, right? Now this fence line seems to be pretty much onto what the survey says. But this is the other fence line, and this fence line is not under dispute. I mean, look, trees are growing up and down it, kind of like the other fence line. And as we walk across, you can see, I mean, well maintained by our neighbor, has a property boundary. So that kind of shows you what we've got here, set up as what back in March of 2002, my parents purchased, saying that this was their property, was the fence line boundary. So they've been here now for over 18 years. This is kind of the longest place they've ever been in one place. Here's the chicken coop. So here, I mean, you can see the fence line comes right across, goes right up. So essentially, basically why I'm letting you know this is I did call a lawyer, and he said basically follow the fence line, get where the fence line is, how the fence line is, that there is actually remnants of a fence line that has been there or is there to show that you guys have been utilizing, using, or assuming that that land was all yours. So it's not that we're thinking we are taking someone else's land, because that would either be squatters' rights or the adverse property rights. What we're thinking, see, this comes straight up here. What we're thinking is, it is our land, and it never wasn't until the neighbor came up and said, hey, you need to get off my property. So, I mean, you can even see this, we have trees that come across here all the way up to the fence line. And so basically what we're doing is we're saying, no, this property is our property because it always has been our property, and this is how we purchased it. So it is boundary by acquiescence. So, letting you guys know, I mean, see, look, you can see beautiful property here. Basically, this is the front of the property, so there's not much here. No fence, nothing. I mean, we didn't fence in to keep animals in, except for in the very back of the property. But as I just showed you, which we're almost back to, the fence that is the edge of the property is not back there to keep the animals in. So here we are, all the way back to the beginning, where you can see the fence line behind me. So basically, that's what we're looking at, is we are going to essentially tell him he can't build, he can't take our property because it is ours by either boundary by agreement or boundary by acquiescence. I guess acquiescence is the big word that they say so that people don't know how to spell it or whatever. And get that out there and show people, I mean, this land was what my parents assumed they had purchased. So anyway, if you guys have any thoughts or ideas on boundary by acquiescence, or like I said, the adverse property, go ahead and leave them in comments down below. And you all have a wonderful day, and let's see how this turns out.